Man, YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan Daley, and I'm your law enforcement translator. You guys, I'm here to provide some unique insight on some very complex current event issues for those who are not familiar with all the foolishness taking place in Atlanta. Again, we are always in the hot seat. If it's Trump, it's the election. If it's not that, we got Delta employees and pilots protesting at the airport. Murders after murders, senseless killings, all this taking place in Atlanta. Listen, you guys, I call this Gotham City all day long. This is the new Gotham City, Atlanta. Pure pandemonium in this city, you guys. If not, they're taking down massive gangs and musicians and artists with RICO. It's never ending story in the city of Atlanta. Craziness, you guys. If you haven't heard about the situation at Subway, extremely tragic, sick, and beyond bizarre. And it's not unexpected here in Atlanta. These are things that happen in Georgia all the time. We had a young lady whose life was taken. She was a Subway employee. She was killed by a criminal, by a scumbag, a known criminal, someone who has a very extensive criminal rap sheet. And it makes you wonder how these things continue to happen. It makes you wonder how these things continue to happen day in and day out. Some of our worst criminals are always out on bail. They're out roaming the streets. They're out to commit another offense. They've never been held accountable for the 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 that they committed. And it speaks to the backlog of issues and crime. And of course, understaffed criminal justice system and a police force that's not putting the same effort into doing the job. And we wonder why, right? We've had 2 years of persecuting the police, and we wonder if there were any type of, if there was going to be any backlash behind that. You guys, we're seeing those things today. Criminals are emboldened. The criminal justice system is inconsistent, and it's failing the people who cannot protect themselves. You guys, this is a problem. And listen, before we dive into that, I have a video I want to show, a news clip from Fox. I think it's very important. And I'm going to tell you what I think about it and the issues that I have. And I'm curious to know what you think. Before we get into that, special shout out to the subscribers. You guys, welcome. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. You guys, we have great discussions over here. We keep it real. We do facts over feelings. So listen, please join the channel if you're interested, want to be a part of the journey. Would love to have your support. It means a lot. Not so many people speaking truth and bringing truth to power. So again, welcome to the channel. So listen, let's dive into this. I think it's important for us to go into the criminal history and then the court records. Listen, people never want to talk about the criminal history. The criminal history is absolutely important. We have to talk about what the courts are doing. Listen, this is why I have an issue with people who don't know what they're talking about. When they say, oh, they turn this thing into race. They want to make it about race. They want to make it about all these other issues. The reality is the act of violence, the act of the crime, things need to be done better than what we're doing them now, right? We are failing the people. We're failing the citizens. We're failing the taxpayers. And these people are out here changing and ruining the lives of innocent people every single day. And enough's enough. What do you do? How do you get it done? One would argue if you hold these people accountable initially, then they won't have an opportunity to do these things again. Let's dive into this video because I got to point these things out. It's very troubling. This is a very consistent problem. And we've seen this over the years. We've seen this with mass shooters. We've seen this with domestic violence. We've seen this in a lot of cases. What is the common denominator here? Is these criminals are out on probation from a violence offense. One would argue that we might need to change this, right? We might need to change this. People need to remain in custody until they're sentenced, until they go to court, until they go to trial, in my personal opinion. But let's dive into this. I think this is going to be a very interesting discussion.
This man, Melvin Williams, is the one who pulled the trigger at a downtown Atlanta subway Sunday afternoon, killing Brittany Macon and wounding Jada Statham, apparently all because he had too much mayonnaise on his sandwich. Williams faces a litany of charges, and it's not the first time.
Fox 5's Claire Sims is digging into his past and has more.
So before we get into that, let's clarify, right? Allegedly, the motive of taking her life was because she put too much mayo on his sandwich, right? She was shot and killed, and another employee was also shot, but is alive. And this is what it's about. We had another shooting in Atlanta where a person was shot at the bowling alley, right? A kid shot in the back of the head by a 11-year-old because of an argument that they had. You know, this is Atlanta, you guys. This is Gotham City. Nothing makes sense. This is Bizarro World. This is what's going on. This place is falling apart. We need better laws. This is not going to stop unless you put better laws in place. But I digress.
On a lengthy rap sheet.
The Subway restaurant on the corner of Northside Drive and Markham Street remains closed. Days after Atlanta police say Melvin Williams opened fire on the sandwich shop, killing one employee and injuring another. The 36-year-old is in the Fulton County Jail without bond, but this is far from his first time in lockup. Jail records show Atlanta police first arrested Williams back in May 2006 on charges of battery, criminal trespass, and obstruction of a law enforcement officer. They took him in again on similar.
So they said he was first arrested back in 2006. It's like 17 years ago, roughly. He was probably 20 years old. One would argue that this crime, he's 36-year-old. He's 36 years old currently. One could argue that this man has been committing crimes all the way since his teen years. Right? First, and here's his criminal history for Fulton County. They're not saying he could have been arrested in another county, right? They're looking at this in Atlanta. All the way back from 2006, you guys. Here we go. All right.
Charges in December 2007, March 2009, and April 2012. But according to court records, Williams was not convicted of any crimes until 2015, when he pled guilty and got first offender status for breaking into his downstairs neighbor's apartment in January 2013, and later getting into a tussle with that same neighbor about the crime. As part of the plea deal, the judge sentenced Williams to time served plus 4 years of probation, which he completed in 2019. But things escalated in March 2021, when a City of Atlanta citation shows officers arrested Williams after an argument with his child's mother. He allegedly put his hand around her neck, choking her. She went unconscious and fell, the ticket reads, dropping their child, who was in her arms. Williams faces charges of aggravated assault, family violence, and cruelty to children in the third degree in that incident. A judge granted Williams $10,000 bond, and the conditions include that he not have any drugs.
There you have it. A lot of shootings, a lot of deaths, a lot of violence, a lot of senseless killings of people who are innocent victims are by the hands a lot of times by repeat offenders. And not only just any repeat offenders who are out on bond. I don't understand the concept of releasing violent people or people who have committed a violent offense against someone else, and they get to buy themselves out of jail and wait for trial. I understand the constitutional privilege here. I get it. One would argue, though, that this is a problem within itself. What's happening? People are out on bond who've committed violent offenses, violent crimes, you guys, and they come out and they repeat. You would think as a criminal that's like, all right, they already got me on something. Let me just chill out. Let me slow down. You guys, it doesn't work like that. Criminals don't think like that. They look at it as another opportunity to commit more crime. Now, of course, some don't. We're not talking about the some. We're talking about the many. We're talking about the many people that do it, that are a menace to their own community, a menace to society, you guys. This is a perfect example of it. I've seen it all too often. I've seen it with criminals who take the lives of police officers, who take the lives of innocent people who are in gangs, who are abusers, who are drug addicts, drug dealers. You guys, I've seen it all too often. The court system, as we know, and the criminal justice system has a lot of flaws. There's a lot of loopholes. And when you don't deal with these loopholes, you guys, this is what happened. They fall through. He fell through. A $10,000 bond. That's nothing, you guys. It's absolutely nothing. And then here we are. Here we are. Well, what did he do? They said he committed aggravated assault against his child's mother by choking her until she passed out, to the point where she dropped the baby on the ground. He is charged with aggravated assault and cruelty to children. He was arrested, and then the judge let him bond out on $10,000. Now, you guys, I've seen this so much. I've seen criminals do the most craziest things, violating an innocent person, and the judge allows them to bond out. What if he decided to leave and go out and take her life? You guys, it has happened. I've worked cases like that, where I get a phone call 3 days later that the person I arrested, who ended up bonding out for harming said girlfriend, has now killed said girlfriend. Then they called me and asked me, did I do everything I was supposed to do? I said, yeah. I took him to jail. I charged him accordingly. Someone let him go. You guys, this is the problem. It doesn't make any sense. It absolutely makes no sense. Criminals live by a lawless state of mind. You guys, rules don't mean anything to them. They need to stay behind bars until what's said court, until they're convicted. I don't know. Maybe, again, I could be a little too radical. Let's continue.
Drugs, alcohol, or weapons. But that allegedly did not stop him from getting a gun and shooting into the Subway, a restaurant just across the street from the Northside Plaza apartment homes where Williams lives, and committed that burglary back in 2013. We checked with Fulton County, and Williams does not currently have any court dates scheduled. Claire Sims, Fox 5 News.
I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this. You know, this is sick. It's twisted. A woman lost her life for nothing at all. Mayo? This is the problem, man. Things have just gotten so out of control in this country. Out of control. People keep talking about we need tough laws this, tough laws that. We're not applying the right type of laws in the right areas that will actually reduce these things significantly. In my personal opinion, you know, a violent offender out, and they should not be. So, you know, it's very unfortunate. It's very disappointing. It's, what do you do? There's a balancing act on trying to make sure you don't infringe on a person's natural rights, their constitutional rights. And then there's also the rights of other citizens. How do you protect them and still protect the criminal? You know, where's the balance, you guys? One would argue that once you commit a crime, especially a violent crime or a high felony crime against somebody else, maybe your freedoms need to be restricted, right? Maybe your constitutional rights need to be restricted. And they should not outweigh the rights and the safety of other law-abiding citizens. One would argue that you forfeit a certain type of rights or privileges once you commit a certain type of crime or crimes against said persons. Now, granted, you're innocent until proven guilty. I do agree with that. Where do we draw the line? Where's the fine line? You know, it's trickery. It's very tricky. I'd like to know what you guys think. You guys, what do you do? What can we do? We can't foresee crime. That's true. We cannot anticipate when someone is going to be a criminal. You can't restrict gun laws so much to a point to where it ends up hurting the law-abiding citizens. Because as we know with law in general, the criminals don't respect the law does not apply to them. This is what makes them criminals. What do? It seems like the more you try to do, you only hurt those who need the protection the most, you guys. It's a very, very slippery slope. If you take away from one, then you end up taking away from someone else, right? There's always, it's a zero-sum game, as they like to put it. What do? What happens in a situation like this? What would I do? I always have a solution. Jails need to have a step-down program, right? You're still confined, but you're slick, a little bit free, but you cannot be out in the public. One would argue whether or not that's fair. I think the issue here is that the criminal justice system took a hit, right? A lot of these cases get backlogged. They get backed up. They don't get prosecuted in time. The courts are overwhelmed with cases. This is true. This is absolutely true. And I think that there lies a big problem. But because people are out on bond for so long waiting for trial, they come out here and they continue to commit more crimes, more acts of violence. And again, that goes against the safety of the citizen, of the population, of the community. And that's what's important. That's what's important. I would keep them in jail. Maybe like a step down version where you're kind of like, it's a little nicer. You have a little bit more freedom, but you're not free. A little bit more freedom, but you can't leave. Right? You can't leave. You're there until your trial. You cannot interact with the public if you've committed certain types of felony offenses, violent ones in nature. You guys, what did he do? He choked his child's mother, choked her out to the point where she dropped the baby. You guys, he should stay in jail until he answers to those crimes, to those alleged crimes that he committed. If we want a fair and speedy trial, then we need to increase the people working in the system so that we can ensure that. But letting people out simply because you don't have enough manpower, nah, that's unacceptable. What do you guys think? What do? Listen, we can't complain about it. Give me some solutions. How do you fix the problem? You can't take guns away. You can get guns. You can't control a person's action. They have free will. How do you do it? How do you do it? Anyways, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. You guys with that. Good night. God bless.